Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate this hearing, and thank all of you for being here. You know, healthcare is a key driver of our debt in this country. All of you know that. $34 trillion in debt and healthcare. Right now, we're spending 17.3% of GDP on healthcare, nearly twice as much as any other developed country. And yet, despite spending almost $4 trillion a year on healthcare, patients and employers are unable to make informed decisions. Unable to make informed decisions about how and where to spend their money because our healthcare system lacks transparency. And I don't mean to sound like a broken wheel. I know that's what you've been hearing all day today from this committee, as it should be. Ms. Martin, I want to start with you. Can you tell me why the drug supply chain is such a black box for employers and for patients?
I'm not sure I know why it is the case, but it is certainly the case that there are elements throughout the healthcare system that are similarly black boxes, and it's why transparency is critically important.
What about the vertical transformation information that exists in the drug pricing chain, where the insurance company owns the pharmacy, owns the PBM, owns the group purchasing organization, owns the doctor, the physician's practice? You think that has something to do with it?
I don't think I can speak to that. I think there are, as I said, there are practices across the healthcare system where opacity reigns and transparency.
So essentially what you're saying is just transparency throughout healthcare would be the answer. Thank you for that. Let me ask you this. How would you describe how the Lower Cost, More Transparency Act can help employer plan sponsors better understand the cost of drugs especially?
I think the provisions of the Act and the increase in transparency will just empower employers with information across the board.
Thank you for that. Doctor, I'm sorry, whatever. Boy, y'all got some great names here on this panel. Thank y'all. And I apologize. PBMs claim that pass-through discounts from drugs manufacturers are passed from the plan to the patients. You know, as a pharmacist for over 40 years, I know that not to be the case. But your research found that in some cases, the average discount on drugs from drug makers is around 50%. In fact, there was a study done by the Berkeley Research Group some years ago, well, about a year and a half ago, that showed that only 63% of the price of, or excuse me, only 37% of the price of a drug goes to the pharmaceutical manufacturer, which begs the question, where does the other 63% go? Well, it's going to the middleman. That's what we know. It's going to the BBM, which is the insurance company that owns the pharmacy, that owns the PBM, that owns the doctor. The largest employer of doctors in this country is United Optum Health Services, 9,000 doctors. So let me ask you, would policies like those that you see in the Lower Cost, More Transparency Act requiring PBMs and health insurers to disclose negotiated rebates help level the playing field, do you think?
Yeah, potentially. The numbers that you cite are not even unusual. 50%, 60%, 70% rebates, discounts are pretty normal, amazingly, in the current market. And so the provisions that are included in the bill, I think, at a minimum, make the purchaser, the employer, much more informed about how they're spending money and where they're spending money.
Mr. Tripilli, Mr. Chairman, next time let's get a panel of Jones and Smith and anyway, nevertheless, Mr. Tripilli, is it your belief that that correcting this misaligned incentive structure for PBMs and to delink the fees, as Dr. Neal was suggesting earlier, that that would alleviate some of the problems we've discussed that we're having?
I think transparency across the healthcare system is critical, including for PBMs, including for hospitals, including for plans. That information around prices, negotiated rebates, all of that is only going to help unveil the curtain around some of the abuses that are happening in the market, empower employers with more information they need to negotiate a better deal, empower consumers for the same reason.
Thank you for that, unveiling the curtain. You know, I've got a pamphlet out. It's calling Pulling Back the Curtain on PBMs, and I'd like to make a copy of that available. In fact, I'll get my staff to bring each one of you one of those pamphlets down here before you leave. But it does show the problems with PBMs and the need for transparency. Look, I'm not opposed to anybody making money, but come on, this is ridiculous. This is not being passed on to the patient. It is not going where it's supposed to go. That's why we need transparency, to show the employers at least where they are going, where these discounts are going. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll yield back.